and greetings. It is a very windy day. Hopefully the audio isn't too bad, but we'll see. But we've got something pretty different, pretty cool, I think. This is not abandoned, but it is a historic site. And, you know, we see a lot of abandoned houses that are from this era on the channel. So today, I thought it might be cool to see what one of these looks like preserved, so that you can see the comparison and just what the decay does compared to what happens when these things are taken care of. So this is Narromissik Farm in Bridgeton, Maine. It is, I believe it's, well, it's owned, I think it's owned by Loon Echo Land Trust, but maintained by the Bridgeton Historical Society. And I know the Bridgeton Historical Society does a lot here, and they have, you know, educational programs, things like that. So this barn is the first thing I want to show. I think it's pretty cool. And let's see if you can see. No, you probably can't. No, it's too dark. Okay. Well, I was hoping to window peek the barn. Oh, we might be able to get right in there. Please. No, you really can't see anything. Okay. Well, big barn, bunch of like old barrels and like church pews, maybe? I don't know. But I'd imagine it's used for storage by the Historical Society. Let's see. Oh, you might be able to see a little better through this window if I can get there. But that's the general idea of the place. Oh, jeez. Yeah, so I think it's pretty cool. And so yeah, that's the barn. We can't get into any of these buildings because they're closed down, locked up, and obviously being a place that's, you know, taken care of, I'm not gonna do anything to try to get in. There is a camera up on the house there, but I mean, it's public access historic site, so whatever, they can film me. I'm filming them. Yeah, say hi. Say hi. You see it right up on that window? And then this is another really cool, this is 1797 is when the Peabody Fitch House here was built. And you can see this is what they were using. We got the old horse and buggy. That's a pretty sweet ride. Leather seat. Very nice, very nice. And we've got the sleigh. We've got the sleigh. This looks like it was a cargo sled. And so very interesting. This is how, I would imagine that this is how the stone, you can see this granite here. This was all quarried on site. And later in the video, we're gonna be going up to that quarry and I'll show you what I mean. It's a pretty cool area. And then this, slightly more luxurious. This, I guess, is more of a cold weather carriage, as opposed to this one would be better in the summer, I would imagine. But then we got, you know, this may have been added later. I don't know. Did they have Husqvarna little lawn tractors in the 1700s? I'm really not sure. Probably not. But you know, even so. So very cool. Let's see what's in this little hidey hole. Oh, pretty much just old foundation. But that's still an interesting shot in there. The stones, you can see some of them have fallen down. This is a very old building, so you're gonna have not quite collapse, but you know. And then we can see the house here. And I already know that if I go up to the windows that you're not gonna be able to see anything. Another little locked up shed. Very nice, very cool. And just look at that granite foundation. Remember, 1797. Things were built to last back then. That foundation is still holding up. And it doesn't look like it's been restored at all. I think, I mean, obviously there's been some work done to the house, but I think the foundation itself has very much stood the test of time. This is another cool area of the house, this screened in porch. Judging by the architecture of this, I would assume this was added much later. I could unlock the door by reaching through here, but I don't want to step on any toes. Much respect to the Historical Society, but Got some nice patio furniture. This looks like a nice little place to, you know, enjoy a coffee or something. Finally looking out at the mountains. We'll get to that mountain view in just a second. And over there, well, actually, I'll walk around so that you can see it. But I'm not sure from that other shot if you could see those church pews in the barn, but this is one of them. This is the same kind of bench. So that's interesting that they, you know, are keeping most of them in the barn, but that they have this one here. It has a nice little seat. And paper wasps, glad we're out of season for them. And there's that mountain view. That's pretty nice. So with those old stone walls, and you can see a better preserved one over here, that must have been reconstructed. But with the stone walls, that was where the road went. So I pointed out those stone walls in the car video, and so you can see here, stone walls both sides. This was a roadbed, which, as you can see, that it still is a roadbed on this side with the stone walls on both sides. So that's a nice little, you can see, you know, exactly where these stone walls were in relation to the house. And so that's why when I see these stone walls in the woods, I get really excited, because the likelihood of there being an abandoned house is pretty high. All right, so I'm gonna come back tomorrow and show you the granite, but basically right here is where all the stuff is, where all the quarries are. Down here, this is where the house is. So we were like here. All right, so I'm back on a different day. We have made it to the quarry. Look here. You see that slit? That is where I assume some kind of a spike would be driven in so that a small charge could be put in there so that they could blast away and get these chunks of rock. But this is almost 3/4 of a mile into the woods from the house that we were at. And you can see I got some elevation change. I mean, I was walking uphill most of my way here. And I mean, you know, a 3/4 mile walk, that's not much walking, but when you're hauling huge chunks of granite out here, presumably by sleigh, I'm thinking the sleigh that we saw in that garage before was probably what they were using, or something similar to it. If they were doing this in the winter, I'd imagine they would, just because, you know, sliding on the snow might be easier, but with all that weight, maybe it's not. Although, you know, this thing like snow versus mud. But yeah, you can see more of those, you know, those holes here where this was another quarry, and you can tell just by how squared off this is, this wouldn't happen naturally. And this almost looks like a pool, like obviously not a hot tub. You can see that ice, and you know, but the way that they carved this out, that's you know, it's very interesting. There's a whole cliffside that they excavated, and so I will show you that a little bit down the road. But just being out here and knowing how far they had to take this stone with very limited tools, just them, maybe a few horses, and then maybe either a wagon or a sleigh, getting those blocks up onto that vehicle somehow, and then taking them on uneven terrain for almost, you know, a little under a mile. It's really impressive, and it's hard work. And that's just to build the house, you know, and then you've got to work the land. And so, you know, we have very easy lives, and you know, people have problems in their lives, and you know, I'm not trying to make light of that, but certainly in the past, people had a completely different set of struggles, and many of those struggles are things that we couldn't even imagine. So here we are back at, or here's another one. You can see more of those blast holes, and so they were pulling stone out of wherever they could, and it seems like they were looking for areas that was close to the surface, because, you know, like I mentioned, getting it out of here was a real challenge, and so they wanted to make it as easy on themselves as they could. More of those slits, they were doing them, well, that could have fallen, but they were doing them both up and down and, you know, perpendicular. So very interesting that you find a house like that, you come back in the woods, and there's more. All right, so first of all, lake out there, and it's kind of hard to see the mountains on cam through all these trees, but they're there. And I'm not advocating for this at all. I think this area is better the way it is, untouched forest land, but just saying, if you were to clear cut this, it would be an incredible mountain view. But I'd rather have it be a good mountain view that you can't see all of and have nice forest land like this instead. But we've made it to this enormous quarry. This is where I would imagine the bulk of the stone was coming out of. This must have been the biggest deposit. And you can see there's all a big cliffside, so it makes sense that there would be a large deposit here that you could access pretty easily. But you can see those notch marks I was pointing out again. And if we go further up, then we can see more evidence of that. And, you know, oh, this is interesting. This is, I guess this must have been a section that they didn't finish. And so you can see these holes fully intact instead of just the cross section that we've been seeing where, you know, they got that block, they got that block, they got the one underneath. But this one, for whatever reason, was either lodged in too much or they, you know, started on that and then they were like, wait, we have enough stone, let's stop. Whatever the case may be, it's interesting to see those intact holes. And let's scale this. I love climbing on cool rocks. I love it, I love it, I love it. I'm a cool rock champ. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. But my mom watches these videos and she'll probably be like, why are you so close to the edge? But don't worry, Mom, I got it. And just an incredible view. Oh, you could see much more of the mountain view. Last time I was here was in the summer, and with the leaves, it was a lot harder to see. But today, we're still, you know, spring has not really sprung yet. So that is an incredible mountain view. This is looking west over towards the presidential range in New Hampshire. Absolutely beautiful view. There are also a few, well, one abandoned car that looks really old, another one that's not abandoned but that's kind of blocking something on the way out. So for those of you who like the car content, please stick around because I'm gonna have a nice, relaxing, long walk back, and then we will be doing a few cars before wrapping up the video for the day. Look what we have here. Look a little familiar? Yeah. So now we've come full circle. This rock may have been once attached to one of the ones that was on this very camera. And so you, by watching it a few minutes back to back, may have a reunion between these two rocks that they have not had in several hundred years. Hopefully that sounded coherent. I hope you get what I mean. But yeah, that came from up there where we just were. And now it is at this farm preserve. Very nice, very cool. So before we wrap up, I've got a few vehicles to show you, so hang tight. All right, so we have some dogs that are making a little noise, but that's okay. I wanted to spotlight this Tacoma. I'm not sure what it's doing here. Oh, this might have been pulled in here. Okay, this might just be in storage. This might not be abandoned, although I see something hanging. Yeah, but this thing could be safe. This thing, tough to say. But look at that view, that's cool. Yeah, the 5-speed with the 4-wheel drive. Oh man. Oh yeah, oh, and that's a farm truck too. Look at that hay in the back. Oh yeah, oh yeah. You know, I can pretty clearly see that that this house over here probably owns this land, and therefore that truck. I'm almost half tempted to go knock on the door and say, hey, how much you want for that old red taco out there? But probably needs a ton of work, but it looks very savable, unless it has frame damage, and I know that those Tacomas did have a lot of frame damage, or, you know, a lot of frame issues, frame reliability issues. So maybe it wouldn't be worth saving, but if it wouldn't, you know, if it would be less than like 5 or 10 grand to get that thing roadworthy, oh, that's worth it all day. So I've got one more to show you, and this one is a bit posted. There's also somebody right at the end of the road there, and they're not paying attention to me, but I don't want them to ask too many questions. So I would be able to go up to the sign a little closer, but here is a Dodge van, very old. Somebody in the comments below could tell me what year they think that is. Actually, I can go up to the sign. I'm legal to go up to the sign. I'll go up to the sign and then get the hell out of here before anybody says anything. But you can see the no trespassing sign, but we're on this side of it, so it's fine. And so I can't go to the back of the van because that's illegal. And being the winter, you know, I don't want footprints. There's bikes. A bunch of bikes in there. Oh wow, and this thing was registered in 95 and 96. So this actually hasn't been abandoned for that long, even though it looks 60s. That is cool. Old Dodge van. Wow. Looks like it was originally green and then repainted black. That's interesting. The sportsman trim. Very cool. Again, that's posted just beyond this, so I'm not going to look too close at that. That's the farthest we can go, but hope you enjoyed the video. If you know anything about any of the things I've shown, the house, the quarries, the vehicles, please let me know in the comments below. I had somebody say that when I said it was a Chevy river dump in the Sunken Wheels video, somebody said that it looked to them like an early 50s Crown Vic because they have a 1951 Crown Vic. And the taillights look the same. So, and he said something about the other vehicle. You can go back and take a look what that was if you're curious. But I always value the input. I want you guys to comment. I want you guys to engage with the content. And also, that video has already hit 7,000 views. It might even hit 8 by the time this comes out. So, huge thanks for all the support, and we will catch you on the flip side.